Hey everybody, and welcome to Dominion Cards, the video series where we take a strategic, in-depth look at various cards from the board game Dominion. Today we're looking at Fishing Village. This is a 3-cost action and duration card from Seaside, and it says +2 actions, +1 coin. At the start of your next turn, +1 action and +1 coin. Now, this is a fairly standard duration card, and the Caravan video, I talk at the first half of that video about duration cards generically. If you haven't watched that video, I highly recommend you go and watch it, because a lot of what we talk about there also applies to Fishing Village. So rather than repeat myself and all the people that have already seen that video, I'm just going to ask you to take a look at that one if you haven't. There's just going to be some extra information that we don't cover here because it's already covered in that video. So what is Fishing Village? Fishing Village is a village effect, essentially across 2 turns. So on the turn that you play it, it is a stop card village, and it also gives you a coin. However, on the next turn, because you don't have to draw it anymore, and it's already in play, it's not a stop card village, sort of like your standard village that gives you +1 card, like regular village, that also gives you a coin. So that's a lot like Bazaar. However, it's a bit better than that, because what's crucial is that on the second turn, you get the village effect right at the start of your turn, which is the best time to actually get the village effect. You know, we've talked in these videos a lot. I mentioned like the village smithy style terminal draw deck, where you really want your villages to come first. And Fishing Village is a village that actually does come first, at least on the second turn of the play. Now, bear in mind here that Fishing Village is not a double village. You only get a single village effect each turn, right? Even though it's essentially doing it twice, it's still only 1 per turn. So you don't end up with more actions than you would if you had bought some other village pile. So Fishing Village is extremely reliable as a village. It might actually be the most reliable village in the entire game. It removes a lot of the risk of not drawing any villages into your starting hand, and that is because about half of them you would expect to basically trigger immediately at the start of your turn. Now, it doesn't remove all the risk. Of course, that's not possible unless all your draw is non-terminal, but the fact that half of them occur immediately is really, really important, because it removes that whole risk of having to basically start with them. You can just start immediately playing your terminal draw to draw a load of cards, and then you're much more likely to find your remaining villages, right? So some duration cards like you to try and do what we call balancing your durations. So if you have, say, an even number of them, like 4 or 6, you're going to try and play 2 or 3 of them on one turn, and then you're going to try and play the other ones on the other turn. Obviously, this only applies once you're actually drawing all of your cards. Fishing Village is a duration where this is actually very important. This is because if you end up out of balance, you just end up with all these stop card villages basically clogging up your deck that you have to try and draw past, and you've got this massive disparity between how much you need to draw each turn. But there's also a problem in that if you do have it unbalanced and you start failing to draw your deck, especially because on the turn that you have all of these stop card villages you need to draw, you're also starting with less villages that are immediately triggering on your turn. And this can sort of end up in this awkward situation where you start failing to actually play your fishing villages, and then that whole thing with your deck being less reliable because there's less fishing villages already in play at the start of your turn just starts to compound on itself. Right, you just start to consistently end up with less villages in play, and that means that your next turn is going to find it harder to draw your deck and is more likely to dud. It's got more risk as well, so you've got to be real careful with Fishing Village. If possible, it is definitely worth not playing a village if it means you get to rebalance your deck. So you might have, for example, that you played 2 villages. Say you had 4 and you played 2 on a turn, but then you buy 2 more. Well, on your next turn, you might expect to draw up to 4 villages, and you might consider, well, I'm only going to play 3 of those 4 so that I have 3 still in my deck next turn, instead of ending up with this off-balance 2-4 split, basically. Now, Fishing Village is very, very good with Terminal Draw. This is it's perfect village for Terminal Draw, really. Terminal Draw is the type of deck that has these real big ordering problems. So Fishing Village mitigates a lot of that. It is worth noting that while I say Fishing Village is a stop card on the turn that you play it, overall you can think of it as being not quite a stop card, and it's more like it has plus half a card on it. That is because once you're drawing your deck and you've got these balanced fishing villages in play, if you had 6 fishing villages, that means that you've only got 3 stop card villages you need to draw each turn, so you're getting 6 fishing village effects for basically 3 stop card space, so that's half a card. Even with weak terminal draw like Moat with only plus 2 cards is not really draw in the presence of stop card villages. Like Shantytown Moat, for example, doesn't really work at getting your hand size up. But with Fishing Village, you can, a little bit, get some extra hand size, even if the draw is weak. So you can end up with more than 5 cards in hand. So in the case of, you have 6 fishing villages, you might be able to get your hand size up to 8 after 3 Moat plays. Or is it more like 7 you're probably realistically going to get? So it's only a little game, but it is better than most other stop card villages in that respect. Now, of course, terminal draw, your standard Smithy style card, is not the only type of draw that's available. Fishing Village works really well with other kinds of draw. So even if your draw is non-terminal, say Laboratory or something, Fishing Village, it's still a village. You're still going to be able to play lots of terminal payload with it. It's really nice at supporting that, particularly in draw to X decks, so cards like Library. So one of the big problems that cards like Library has is that you want to decrease your hand size between each library play, but the problem is that if you want to be doing stuff like, say, playing bridges, you need to find a way to play a load of bridges in between your library plays, and that means that you've really got to draw a load of villages first to be able to do that. So Fishing Village works very well with that because of how it just front loads all of the plus actions that you get. But also Fishing Village is a stop card, so that means that draw to X it doesn't necessarily help draw to X, but draw to X sort of undoes the harm caused by Fishing Village of being a partial stop card, basically. Other types of awkward draw can include discard a draw, like Minion. That is a non-terminal drawer, but you have to discard your hand each time you want to draw, and that has big problems with draw order, sort of like draw to X, in that if you draw your terminal payload, like your bridges, too early, you just don't get the chance to play them because you don't have the actions to spare on them, and Fishing Village removes a bunch of that risk. Now again, it doesn't completely eliminate it. You might not actually be able to play all of your terminal payload, but you will be able to play a fair amount of it more reliably than you would with other types of village. So Fishing Village, very, very good for playing terminal payload in a whole type of decks. Fishing Village is also one of the few villages that are actually really good in decks that just can't draw all of themselves. This might be because there's no trashing, so you've just got a load of stop cards that you just can't get past. You might not even have any draw at all, or the draw is just exceptionally weak and it's just not good enough, like Moat, for example. Because Fishing Village works across 2 turns, you gain... what you can do is you can load up on more terminal action cards than you normally would and be less worried about terminal collision. So if you think of, I don't want to say Smithy Big Money because you probably still wouldn't get Fishing Village if it was that bad, but if it wasn't quite as poor as just plain Big Money deck, what you can do is you can just load up on more actions than normal. So what you're normally trying to do is that you only really want across each 5-card hand, you would probably only be looking to make sure you had 1 terminal action. And that's just because even if you add a village, it's very unlikely that it will match up at the right time, just because you've got a bunch of cards and you can't draw them all every turn, so you can't really rely on things lining up perfectly. But with Fishing Village, it doesn't have to line up perfectly, because you can play the village on one turn and still get the action effect on the next one. You've got all this whole extra range where Fishing Village can show up and still be useful for its extra plus action. So that means you just get to put more action cards into your deck and be more likely to not have to worry about not being able to play all of those terminal actions. There's something we call terminal collision, where you basically can't play all of your terminal actions because you don't have enough villages in play. Well, you're very likely to have a village effect when you need it, when you are using Fishing Village. So you can just put in more terminal actions than you might be able to support in any other type of deck, basically. Now, everything we've just said there makes Fishing Village sound incredibly strong, and it is. But here's the crazy thing with Fishing Village, in that it's actually even stronger than that, because it also gives you an extra coin on both turns. And so, while you are buying this really powerful village to add to your deck that makes your engine run really well and it's super reliable, it's also adding extra money onto your turns as well. And this can be really important for building quickly. So, especially when you think about, for example, the very start of the game, you're often trying to do what you can to trash really quickly, and sometimes you just don't get these very good turns. It might be that you're trying to build an engine with other cards, and they start colliding because you haven't quite got around to building stuff properly yet. And so you just have these turns where you can't really do very much. But Fishing Village will make sure that you're still generating a bunch of money while doing all of that. So you are actually still having these good turns and can afford the expensive cards that you want while actually doing everything else that you need to do. It can also make getting an extra buy pretty early very strong as well, because Fishing Village is actually really cheap. It only costs 3, and that's super good value for what is such a really strong card that's also helping you build your economy. Right, you think on the second turn, Fishing Village is like a bazaar, like a cantrip coin. Right, you're adding those into your deck whilst you're also getting strong villages as well. It's just really good. And cantrip coin normally costs 4, and this is a delayed cantrip coin, so of course it can get away with being cheaper. But just really, really good value from get that extra coin from Fishing Village. Now, we talk about this a lot, but sometimes some boards really, really want you to get the very expensive cards early because they're just very strong and they're very good for the deck. In a lot of those cases, you will need to add something that gives you money to your deck to be able to afford it, and usually silver is always available. But because Fishing Village costs the same as silver, and it is essentially giving you that economy boost, on the second turn, specifically like a cantrip coin, that means that you usually don't need to buy silver when Fishing Village is around. There are a whole bunch of boards, probably most of them where Fishing Village is available, where if you would normally pick up a silver, you can just grab a Fishing Village instead. And while it's not going to get you to 5 necessarily quite as quickly, you have to wait a turn to get that extra boost, like the cantrip coin style boost. It still really helps you hit 5. And the best bit is that you therefore get to do that whilst avoiding adding that stock card that you never really wanted in the first place. And also you're throwing this powerful village into your deck while you do it, so your deck is getting more prepared for when you start adding all of these draw cards. So Fishing Village is just giving you this real good value when you add it to your deck early on, and basically preparing you for the deck that you want to build while letting you skip doing the thing that you normally regrettably do out of necessity. Fishing Village is also really good with some strong trashing cards like Steward. So Steward gets to trash 2 cards from your hand, and one of the big problems that has when you play it early on is that you just end up with 2 cards left in your hand that are probably 2 coppers. And so you just hit 2 a lot, and on a lot of boards there just isn't really anything that's going to be that good for 2. Sometimes there are crazy strong 2 costs, but a lot of the time there isn't, right? And often that means that you might just skip your go. But the nice thing with Fishing Village is that if you played a Fishing Village on the previous turn, well, now you have 3 money instead of 2 on that turn. And hey, look, Fishing Village costs 3 and is a powerful card, so you can buy another one. So Fishing Village, you can just start stacking your deck with a load of these strong economy-generating villages, whilst also trashing real quick when you have stuff like Steward available. So, just another reason why Fishing Village is so good at getting your deck ready really quickly. Like, you can get away with doing this strong trashing and not really have to slow down building your deck while doing it, and that's because it's giving you this coin. So pretty crazy. And so overall, this is sort of like a summary slide here, but Fishing Village works really well with almost everything that makes engines good, right? This is a tremendously good engine card because it just complements everything that you want to be doing to build the strong engine. So it's giving you economy, so that means you just need to add less treasures through the game. So not only do you get to skip that early silver, but if you end up with like 4 or 5 or 6 fishing villages in the end, that's 4 or 5 or 6 money that you're just getting every turn for just adding in these villages that you wanted anyway, right? Wow, fantastic, right? That means you don't need to have as much stock card space on these stock card treasures that you sort of would normally only add because you have to add money somehow. Right, that means you need less draw cards in order to draw your deck because they're not in the way, and that means you just get to drawing your deck a lot faster than you normally would. You are more likely to match this up with Terminal Draw if you add it to your deck early, and that means that it's a lot easier to start playing these smithies and patrols and so on pretty early without worrying about like drawing your trash cards dead or whatever. And what that means is this lets you put a big focus on putting your draw together first, and that's normally what you want to be doing in an engine. You want to start making sure you can basically shuffle your deck every turn and play the key cards that you want to every turn as soon as you can, and Fishing Village really supports that by being such a reliable village. It makes those early trashing turns better, so you don't have to worry as much about losing speed by doing a bunch of trashing, because you still get to buy good cards like Fishing Village while you're doing it. The reliability takes out a lot of the risk of getting bad opening draws that engines can sometimes suffer from, the way you just lose a turn randomly because you got unlucky. Like, very, very good at that. It also means it's really good for stuff like Outpost, which is a tremendous engine payload that makes like the engine twice as good. Really, really good for that. It's very cheap. So if you do find a way to like throw in a buy early, it suddenly gets really strong to do that, and you can build really fast. But it's also a good target for stuff like your workshops and so on, and using remodels and all that, just because it's so cheap. It makes all kinds of draw decks viable. Even the more unusual and awkward forms of draw can work really well with Fishing Village, right? Even if the only way to draw your deck is something like, I don't know, jack of all trades, like, is the only way that you're going to draw. Like, you can do that with Fishing Village, right? There are so many. Don't think of any way that you can like add hand size to your deck, and think about how Fishing Village supports that. And it basically works with pretty much all of them, right? Fishing Village is just so good. And lastly, it's a village that you can actually open with and not harm yourself. Like, normally, why would you ever open Village? But with Fishing Village, because you can like replace that opening silver, you get to just start adding villages to your deck straight away, so you never have to take time out from just adding good engine components to your deck. And for all those reasons, Fishing Village is just basically completely bonkers as an engine village. Like, really, really strong. Very good. Like, high quality card. This is very, very strong. So yeah, Fishing Village. If any card is sort of going to make an engine viable, it's probably Fishing Village, right? When you see it, very, very hard to not have an engine. You basically need no draw at all or something in order to not have a good engine when you have Fishing Village around. So there you go. So what we are going to do now is we are going to head over to the online client, and we are going to generate some boards with Fishing Village, and we're going to see how good it is for us and what it's doing for us here. So on this board, we have no trashing at all, and we do have Witch, and we do have Swindler. So that's unfortunate. So we can't get rid of curses, and they're going to come into our deck really quickly because there are two pretty good attacks for like throwing curses in our way. So even though we have Fishing Village, the only draw is Witch, and there is no trashing. And what that means is that we probably aren't going to be able to actually build a functional engine here. Like, we just can't draw well enough. So I guess the question is it just Witch big money? Or can we actually do a little bit more with Fishing Village? And I honestly think we can. I don't think Outpost is actually going to work here. Because the deck's just going to be too terrible. Like, your Outpost turn's just going to have a bunch of curses in it. However, we can probably do sort of like a Witch money thing, except I think we actually can get away with some Fishing Villages. So I might open like Fishing Village and Swindler, and then actually look to get some Witches. And like having one or two like Fishing Villages in my deck is gonna be absolutely fine. Like, maybe they get swindled into silver or something, right? Like, well, that's also fine. So I think this is sort of like a Witch big money type of thing, but I might have a Swindler in there early as well, probably just one that I'll play occasionally. Embargo's going to be trash here, like a load of curses are going to disappear very quickly. Lurker doesn't feel very good. It feels like bad value in the hands where I actually draw it, because I just can't get a draw engine going. Workshop is only really going to be getting me like Fishing Villages, so it seems like a waste of time. Would I even use Explorer in this deck? I don't know. Probably not. Maybe I get one later. Like, maybe this is the sort of deck where an Explorer is fine, but I won't really necessarily be playing it that much. What I actually want is a bunch of Witches and some Fishing Villages, and I should be able to hit 8. But I really want to win that like curse split. So I'm going to open Fishville and Swindler, and I'm going to buy some Witches, and that's kind of all I'm really doing on this deck. So I think even though there's no like proper engine here, I am still okay with getting one or two Fishing Villages in my deck. Eventually I would start swapping over to like silver on bad turns, but some early on Fishing Village, it means that when I do start the junking and get the Witches, I might not end up like accidentally colliding Witches as much, which is going to be really good for winning that important curse split. So that's why it's still nice to have some Fishing Villages in my deck, even though it's probably not quite as good economy-wise as a straight silver. I'd still want it for early on. Here we have, I noticed we have Lighthouse, but there's no attacks. There is no trashing again, although there is like Haven as partial pseudo trashing if you can actually get your deck drawn. Can you do that? Well, the only draw is Nobles, which is really expensive. It's going to be hard to get, and there is, with no trashing. There is like Market, which is pretty good. There is Courtier, which seems nice on this board because there are like 5 things that have 2 types. Is it actually that nice? Like Vassal seems difficult because there's no trashing, but we might be able to Haven pick up a bunch of stuff, and we can get a load of actions, so maybe that's fine. I'm tempted here to actually build an engine. I think the fact Nobles is around giving me some extra points pushes it in the engine's favour, and the fact that there are cards like Market. Not sure how good Poacher is. I think it's okay because we're always going to have something to discard. Our pile's actually going to lower. Possibly. Something like the Fishing Village pile might actually lower. I wonder what we'd do. On a 5-2, I would probably open like Haven and Treasury, possibly. Well, Treasury's not so good because I'm going to be buying a bunch of Nobles, right? So I'm always buying the Victory card. But it might help me hit 6 early on because of the way that it keeps top decking itself. So I might actually go for that. Might be better than a Market, perhaps. But I do want a Market soon. I think I try and go for an engine here because once I have a buy, I can pick up like a load of Havens, and I can actually use that to try and like partially clean my deck. And then I do have stuff like Vassal that's really good, and I think having a load of buys actually will be decent here. Like, I don't see... The problem is that, like, what are you going to do except build the engine? Because, like, big money strategies do not feel very good here, because there's no, like, terminal draw that's good, except for nobles, which is really expensive. Big money doesn't like nobles that much, because it would rather be buying golds. And it would compete with harem, as well. Like, so... like, if it was just pure big money. So I think we build the engine, and I think Fishing Village is nice here. Maybe I do just get a market early, actually, so I can buy stuff like Haven and Fishing Village rather than Treasury. So maybe we don't bother with Courtier. I actually don't think I want any golds. They're just going to get in the way. I would rather avoid them as much as I can. I would rather buy like treasuries and markets, and maybe some poachers and vassals rather than getting golds. So I think Courtier is bad here. It's just a stock card that I don't want. I want to avoid stock cards except Fishing Village as much as possible. So, yeah, I think we build the engine. I think Fishing Village is good here. It's really going to help us because the engine for a while is going to be very unreliable. We're sort of relying on trying to get junk out of our deck with havens, which is a really bad way to do it, but we actually can do it in this case. So, yeah, Fishing Village, if any pile's going to empty, it's probably like Fishing Village is going to be the first to run. I think you do actually want a bunch. But you don't want too many too soon, I think. So here I notice straight away we've got Torturer and Bridge, and along with Fishing Village, so that screams good engine directly at me. However, again, there is no trashing at all. But we have ironworks to pick up bridges and fishing villages, and there's smithies as well. So I think we actually can get an engine running here. If we need to, there are two other village piles, Native Village, not as much of a stop card as Festival, like so. The villages are all like either stop card villages or like semi-stop card villages. But they are very cheap, which is really good with Bridge, and we do have like Torturer as well to try and gain curses. To try and give curses to our opponent in a deck with no trashing. So we really want to try and build the engine here. The payoff is really good. We've got like festivals and bridges, just very strong along with Torturers. So we're just definitely opening Ironworks. I think we open Fishing Village and Ironworks. And we are going to start off with some smithies, but every time we hit 5, I actually want some Torturers, and then I'm going to double down on like getting extra villages. And I'm happy to use native villages as well. There's no easy way to use native village as pseudo-trashing. You can technically use Pearl Diver to put stuff on top of your deck and pseudo-trash with native village. And I wonder if that ends up being the best thing to do. You use a native village or two to like pseudo trash, and you really go for Fishing Village and Festival as your main villages, and you throw in a load of like smithies and torturers, and you aim to play like 4 or 5 bridges. That might only be, you might only get like 3 or 4 bridges actually off the turn because you're spending so much on like terminal draw. But we actually can get thin here, although it's very awkward. We do have to buy a bunch of like Pearl Divers in order to do it, a native village, and it's not guaranteed that it's actually going to work. Well, if Pearl Diver finds a good card, we put it on top, and if it finds a bad card, we can then put it on top and native village it away, hopefully. So I think that can work, actually. So in the end, yeah, we have got a crazy engine here. Trashing is exceptionally awkward, but we can do it. So that's what we're going to do. You just have to be very careful at some point. Like, maybe you only have 1 native village. I would like 2, but then I've got these 2 stop cards that I sort of can't play anymore. But maybe that's fine here. In case we do have to pick up curses as well, which we might have to with Torture at some point. So yeah, Fishing Village, very good here. We are opening with it. It's really going to help us hit 5 while building an engine, because we really don't want to be adding any treasures to this deck at all. We don't need money as much because we've got Bridge and Festival. So just no treasures. Try and get rid of them with Native Village. Fishing Village is very, very strong here. Very good engine on that board. Although it'll take a while to set up, I think the attack Torturer is good enough to help make that a reality. Do we finally have trashing? No, we don't. We have Native Village again, but this time there is nothing like Pearl Diver to support it. Only Harbinger, which doesn't feel very good at doing that. And we've got Witch. So is this like 3 junking attacks with no real trashing? Like boards that have come up with Fishing Village? That's a shame. Yeah, so... there's Cut Purse as well, which seems quite nice. I'm going to open Fishing Village and Cut Purse, and I'm going to try and do similar to the first board, where we use Witch and try and throw the curses into our opponent's deck. We're not going to be able to pseudo-trash as well this time. Probably don't bother with Nobles. I'm just wondering, is Duke good? I think you have to get the curses out first, but once you've done that, it might be fine to then shift into Duchy Duke. Like, you're going to have Fishing Village, you're going to have Cut Purse, you're going to have some Witches. I think having some Fishing Villages would also help for trying to hit 5 for Duchy, so I think that's what we do. I don't think Tactician will get a look in because you don't have time to have stopped buying 5s. We want like 2 Witches, and then after that, every time we hit 5, it's going to be Duchy or Duke. And I think that's the winning play. I think just getting up to Province is going to take a long time with no trashing and a cursing attack, so we shift into Duchy Duke instead. But the curses are really important because it actually can be quite difficult to hit 5 if you get flooded with them. So get 2 Witches, get a Fishing Village and open with it, probably like 2 Fishing Villages or something, just to mitigate some of the risk with playing Witch. Get a Cut Purse, which seems really nice. In a Duchy Duke slog thing, I think Cut Purse is actually going to be relevant throughout the whole game, so this seems like a board that's actually quite good for Cut Purse as well. Maybe we get 2 Cut Purses, like we're just going to try and play these as much as we can while picking up as many Duchies as we can, and the deck's going to eventually like become quite sad. Even Harbinger might be decent here, thinking about it. We might be able to top deck some decent cards, but I will actually want some silvers at some point. Well, I don't know. Then again, we have like Fishing Villages and Cut Purses. Maybe they're fine. So, okay. Like, when do we stop and get Harbingers, though? They're going to come slightly later. But I think we could add some too. Yeah, so we still go with Fishing Village, even though there's no real engine there, because I think it's delayed coin, like duration coin thing is actually quite nice for us there as well. And, you know, getting the curses out early. And another board with no trashing, so poor Fishing Village didn't really get to see any real trash games in this random kingdoms, but hey, that's just how it goes. It was still used in all of them though so far. Are we going to use it here? So no trashing, no way to like pseudo trash or anything. I am immediately looking at Sea Hag combined with Courtyard, so this is going to be like Courtyard big money. And we're going to have Sea Hag. Sea Hag seems nice because there's no trashing. So we want to put curses into our opponent's deck. And other than that, it sort of feels a bit big money-ish with Courtyard. Now, do we actually need Fishing Village in this case? I don't think we do, because if there is a collision, Courtyard can just top deck one of the cards for next turn, which feels nice. But it might actually still be okay to open with a Fishing Village or 2. Like, I still think Fishing Village will be decent here. Like, because, you know, it'd still be nice to play the Sea Hag a turn earlier. I don't want that many, though. I might open Sea Hag and maybe I open Sea Hag Courtyard. Maybe that's more important so that I don't miss. I'm less likely to... if I get Courtyard on turn 3, I know I'm not actually going to miss playing my Sea Hag. That might be better. Like, you're less worried about terminal collision with Courtyard, so I might do that. I might open Courtyard Sea Hag. Maybe I don't bother with Fishing Village then. I think I would rather have silvers. Embargo, not really going to get a look in. If I open 5-2, I think I still open Sea Hag Courtyard. Maybe I get an Explorer at some point. I don't. Yeah, I think Explorer's fine here, actually. If I do that, then I might get, I might be okay getting 1 or 2 Fishing Villages in this deck, honestly. But it's a bit suspect, I think. I don't know how many I'm going to need. I'm likely to start getting a load of curses in my deck fairly early, so... Yeah, I don't know if Fishing Village is actually all that necessary here, just because Courtyard's very good at mitigating terminal collision on its own. Is Gardens good here? Probably not. I would rather gun for provinces, but I think it will be fine late game as like a duchy replacement if you miss it. But I don't think there's any way to go for like a full-on garden strategy here. I don't think it's going to work, even if you get a bunch of curses. But I think I'll probably still get some anyway. So there you go. So I think I still get some fishing villages here. But hopefully, those 5 kings sort of demonstrate that even though the engines had problems in this game, some of them, like fishing village, was still useful. And even when there was no real engine, I still bought some fishing villages. That's really good for any card, that it works in all those different types of decks. But if we got to see a full-on engine, fishing village would have been completely bonkers, and you absolutely would have opened with one of them on most of those boards, I think. So yeah, fishing village just very, very strong, and allows you to do the more interesting action plays even on boards that don't support them very well. So just incredible card, really. Buy it a lot when it's available and you won't go wrong. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope this was useful for you, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.